Hello and welcome back to Phantom Fridays, ladies and gentlemen. For far too long, I think, we've been examining examples of how not to do a Sailor Moon crossover. Even the inclusion of Sailor Moon T was an example of how not to do it. And I think it's about time we put a stop to it. So, for this little series, I decided to show off an example of a Sailor Moon crossover that I love. One of my personal favorites. And is brought to you by an old standby of ours. Mr. User, what is it, Tracy? The show started. Yes, but the thing is, I was just curious. Are you going to do something special for this? Nope, have no idea. Okay, Tracy will have to remind you later. Well, anyway, yes, an old standby of ours. As we proceed to talk about Sailor Moon and the Young Jedi Knights era. Who are the Young Jedi Knights, you may ask? You people who have just gotten into the Star Wars fandom through Star Wars Episode 7, which, if you are watching from the future, thank you. I appreciate your views. Well, the Young Jedi Knights are all about the stories of Han and Leia as kids, Jaina and Jason, as they proceed to grow and become Jedi Knights under the tutelage of Luke Skywalker. The stories are mostly really good, and the adventures are really classy, and I hope this inspires you guys to check out the books. So, here we go. 3 New Senshi by Striker JK5. I should for easier. What? This is a Star Wars crossover. Yeah, so? So, shouldn't we do something, I don't know, special for it? What do you mean? Oh, you're right. A long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Three New Senshi, Episode 1, The Rise. It is a new era of peace for the Republic. Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Knights are bravely protecting the galaxy, under the watchful eyes of both him and his lovely wife, Mara Jade. Top of the class are Jada and Jason Solo, twin children of Han Solo and Luke and Leia Skywalker. Throughout the universe, throughout the galaxy, these heroes have made many adventures and saved many lives. On Earth, Usagi Tsukiko, Sailor Moon, and her friends have thus defeated Queen Galaxia and have ushered in a new era of peace. Never were these two galaxies supposed to have met. Never were these two galaxies supposed to combine. But what would happen if one world became fully aware of the other? Chapter 1. Which way? Nobody knows who, or what, discovered hyperspace. Only through that otherworldly dimension was faster than light travel possible, and it was very dangerous. One misstep could plunge you into the abyss, or worse. Jaina Solo, however, wouldn't have it any other way. She was the daughter of Han Solo, after all, one of the galaxy's biggest risk-takers. Sometimes, the thrill was the only thing that reminded her she was alive. Besides which, she was a Jedi. A little trip through an alternate form reality was nothing to her. She could feel where the instabilities were, and how much she could push the ships she's piloted. Her favorite ship to pilot was the Rock Dragon. I feel required to say this, but rock the dragon! Don't get me! It nominally belonged to her friend, Tenno Ka, but since she wasn't the best pilot, it fell to Jaina to fly the sleek Harpoon spaceship. This particular time was quite special. She and a group of her closest friends were returning from a vacation on Coruscant. They were now returning to Yavin 4 in order to learn how to become Jedi Knights, protectors of the galaxy. By her side was Lobaka, an adolescent Wookiee. The two worked in sync, checking for course corrections, bleeding off excess static discharge, and a dozen other tasks. It almost didn't leave her enough time to glance out the window, but she was able to spot an area of turbulence set against the reddish haze of hyperspace. A small tingle ran up her spine as the black forecast grew closer. I have a bad feeling about that. No. Jaina, didn't you learn anything from your father? Do not say that, because bad things usually start happening! After a few minutes, Jaina was ready to breathe a sigh of relief as the Rock Dragon passed by that little instability. Then the comm system cracked alive, Uh, Jaina? We kinda got a problem back here. It was Jason, Jaina's twin brother. I found this really cool rat-like thing near the engines. Unfortunately, it looks BOOM! His voice was drowned out by an explosion amidships. Alarm klaxons began blaring, emergency lights dimmed. Lobaka growled out a series of curses as he struggled to stabilize his ship. Not good, he growled. I always wanted a chance to practice my Wookiee. Jaina checked the status boards. Our server engine just blew. We're losing power, and our hyperdrive cutoff switch isn't operative. Jaina fought the rising panic. Without the cutoff switch, the Rock Dragon would be standard in hyperspace forever. Lobaka pointed out the window and parked. His translator droid MDT activated. Master Lobaka indicates that we're caught in a gravitational funnel and are being pulled toward. Are you sure? The Wookiee nodded. Oh my! We are being pulled toward that instability. We'll be dashed to a million pieces. The ship began spinning as it came closer. Jaina dumped all remaining power into the shields and inertial dampening. She could only hope it was enough. Tokyo, Japan, downtown Juban district. She felt the impact, as sure as the ship had hit her directly. After 10,000 years of existence, not much affected Mayo Setsuna. As the guardian of time for her universe, she had seen it all, literally. Atrocities, acts of compassion, genocide, the birth of a new species, all had transpired in her lifetime. All those events, however, were a part of the normal time stream. A starship from an alternate universe crashing through a weak point in the space-time continuum was not part of the time stream. Setsuna knew she had to act quickly in order to determine the effects it would have on future events. She glanced at the busy street she was on before stepping into the deserted alley. She gingerly sidestepped several mounds of trash as she made her way to the far end. Before her, a large ornate door appeared. It suddenly swung open. The guardian of time stepped into the swirling mist. A normal person could only see the bright mist with beams of light before them. Setsuna was no normal person. She quickly began receiving the patterns. One trail, bright and strong, was the proper timeline. The coming darkness and the founding empire of Crystal Tokyo shone through. Setsuna looked down at another thread of time, darker and thinner than the last. That was what could happen if the occupants of the starship were allowed to land. Death, tragedy, and chaos awaited if they lived. It wasn't a certainty, but Setsuna didn't feel uncertainties. She had to make the hard decisions on the fly. Sometimes it didn't work, but most of the time it did. She concentrated, and a small ornate rod appeared in her hand. Her scarlet eyes hardened as she spoke. Pluto crystal power! Make up! Jaina's eyes slowly opened as the fog lifted from her brain. Her closing cleared to reveal a teenage boy standing in front of her. You're awake! Thank the Force, he said. It was Jason, her twin brother. He extended a hand and helped her to a standing position, only to cause her to almost fade again. Whoa! Are you trying to help or hinder me? Jason shrugged, grumpy after waking up with signs of irritability. Good to see you're alive, sis. Jaina's sidestepped and went for the controls. Ha! Ha! Have we contacted Cornsouth yet? Mom and Dad are probably worried sick about us. She flipped a few switches, began trying to hail the capital planet, but there was only static on the comm frequencies. She turned back to Jason. What's going on? It's working, so why isn't it receiving? She quickly sensed her brother's moves shift ever so slightly to panic. To be perfectly frank, we don't know. The comm system's working, but it's not picking up anything. To top it all off, Tenno says the galaxy feels different. She wouldn't elaborate any further, but after a while, Miel felt it. Jaina immediately reached out with the Force, letting it flow from beyond her to the beyond. She felt the fabric of the universe, the ties that bound reality together. It was quickly apparent that the fabric of space-time was different. She gradually reached out further, past the system. There was less life in the galaxy. It was concentrated on the outer rim, not in the galactic core where it should be. What's going on? She said, barely above a whisper. Jason put his hand on her shoulder and drew her to a hug. Don't worry. We'll find out together. Chapter 2. Blundering Toward Friendship. Jason and Jaina quickly headed off to the Rock Dragon's passenger quarters to meet with the rest of their friends. There were 7 of them, not counting the twins. Lobaka barked a greeting. The gangly, fur-covered Wookiee's translator translated. Master Lobaka greets you, Master Jason and Mistress Jaina. Tenno Ka, a Jedi trainee from 2 worlds. The Frontier Domineer and the Regal Hapes walked toward her. My friend Jaina, I am glad to see you alive and well, she said brusquely. Jaina nodded. So am I. She looked around at everyone, feeling the confusion. Does anybody know where we are? When we are? She asked rhetorically. On to the side, Jack walked over and spoke up, his emerald eyes shining. I believe I know what's going on, but you're not going to believe it. He looked around before speaking again, words heavy with seriousness. I believe we are what is known as an alternate reality. Everybody looked at each other in obvious confusion. There was a full minute before anyone spoke. Excuse me, but what's an alternate reality? It was Raynar, an Alderian Jedi with a sometimes annoying habit of asking questions. Zek bit his lip and gathered his thoughts. Okay, this is... What if Master Skywalker never blew up the Death Star? He suddenly scratched his forehead and thought about what to say in explanation. Fortunately for the young man, a voice behind him spoke up. Alternate realities are possible next year. Whoa, 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 whoa! Hayden, what are you doing here? Well, this is the Anakin solo part of the show, isn't it? I should voice Anakin since I'm Anakin. No, dude. Anakin Skywalker doesn't show up until a few arcs from now. So, can't I at least voice the young version? No. How about me? No. Sorry, kid. Really, Jake, I've got no problem with you. Really, I don't. But no. We're getting some professionals on here. Really? Who are you going to actually get to voice Anakin Solo? Who are you actually going to get? Vic Mignogna. What? Alternate realities are next to impossible to explain at best. It may not be wise to try, Zach. This time it was Anakin Solo, Jason and Jaina's younger brother. He resembled a young Skywalker, with his dirty blonde hair and ice blue eyes. All we know is we're here, cut off from our loved ones. There's a city 2.3 kilometers to the northeast populated by humans. Some of us should go there for information, while the rest stay behind for repairs. He looked around. Any volunteers? After a few minutes, it was decided. Zek would go out, accompanied by Tyree Velia, a young Jedi trainee. His correspondent street smarts and her survival skills honed on Tatooine being the deciding factors. In retrospect, the two made a contrasting pair. Zek was a tall, serious-looking, and was clad in a black jumpsuit with a vest over it. His emerald eyes constantly scanned the surrounding area for any threats. Tyree was shorter and had a wide grin plastered on her face. She was clad in an orange jumpsuit with bare feet. Plus, she kept a constant stream of chatter going. And for those of you who are wondering, no, I do not have a punctuation guide with me right now, so I am making up how to pronunciate these guys' names on the fly. The rock dragon had crashed on the largest island of the chain, near a small, large stormy volcano. The pair quickly made their way across the landscape, avoiding the small villages whenever possible. Despite his wariness, Zek found the houses he passed fascinating. They appeared to be made of some sort of wood, and the symbols on them were intricately drawn. He wondered what they meant, but the language he heard from the indigenous population was unknown to him. Tyree was loving every minute of the journey. This wasn't like her homeworld at Tatooine. No, sir! Here it was green and less with plant life, not brown and clogged with sand. Sand, was his course said. Shut up, Hayden! She continually talked while she and Zek talked. This place is really cool. I wonder what it says. It's still even right. I know Jawa and Tusken are a bit as well as basic, but those symbols seem weird to me. I wish... She abruptly stopped talking as he sensed something powerful up ahead. Zek immediately sensed it as well. He motioned to Tyree to stop and unclipped a 35-centimeter rod from his belt. With the press of a button, and the orange blade sputtered to life, flashing to red several times before finally settling on orange. Stay behind me, he said. They had just exited the last village and were on a dirt country road. A strong wind came out of nowhere, and a woman appeared on the horizon. She was dark-skinned and wearing a ridiculously short green skirt that somehow showed a lot of leg. She wore a sleeveless blouse with black ribbon on front. Knee-length boots and gloves that came up to her elbows completed the ridiculous ensemble. Zek almost dismissed her until he looked her in the eyes. Those are the eyes of experience, he thought. She's seen death and force knows what else. The stranger raised her left hand. A long metallic staff as long as hers appeared out of nowhere. I am Sailor Pluto, she said, astounding both Zek and Tyree. You speak basic? Pluto nodded. Yes, I am the guardian of time and space. You do not belong here. She lifted the staff and pointed at Zek and Tyree, whispering 2 words. Delta Scream. A torrent of violent energy ripped through the air, straight through the Jedi, who were both moving before Pluto spoke. Tyree leapt back about 5 meters, unmaking her leg through strength through the force. Zek, meanwhile, leaped at Pluto with his lightsaber swinging. Pluto immediately brought her staff up and deftly blocked the energy blade. Why am I even bothering, guys? You know how this is going to work. That lightsaber is going to cut through Pluto's time staff, and the Jedi are all going to kick the girls' butts, and they're all going to look so superior, and all going to look so proud, they're going to look so awesome, and the Senshi are going to look like little weak peons compared to the big brains Jedi, especially the men. Oh yes, the men are going to show it off. And the Senshi are all going to look like pathetic little weaklings, despite the fact that they've had years of experience. Just make it quick. It definitely blocked the energy blade, parrying down and almost slicing Zek's leg off. Wait, what? I do not wish to cause you pain in this, she said, but you must die in the future, so it isn't altered. Zek swore under his mouth before he swung. Why isn't my blade cutting through that damn staff? What the hell was that? Did I scream? His thoughts were interrupted when Pluto jumped back, raised her staff again. Before he could speak, Zek knelt down and whipped out a small blaster from an ankle holster. He squeezed off a half-dozen shots, hoping it would be enough. Instead of moving, Pluto raised her staff above her head and shouted, Dark Dome, close! The top of her staff, a red orb, glowed as a translucent wall of energy encircled the Guardian of Time. All 6 bolts successively bounced off the air, not even sensing her swirly hair. Wait, what? Zek swore profusely in multiple languages. He turned and saw Tyree standing out to the side of the road. Tyree! Get back there and warn the others! I'll take out this nice sister wannabe! She hesitated. I don't want to leave you! She said as fear enveloped her. Zek's face grew red, beat in anger. Listen to me, you crumpet barb! Get back to that Francis rock dragon, or else Minidala here is going to catch them by surprise and kill them! Now go! Tyree swallowed and turned around, only to see something she really hadn't. Zek, we got problems. 9 figures approached from the opposite end of the road. 8 were female, wearing the same odd outfit Pluto was wearing. However, the colors of their skirts were different. In the back was a man in formal wear. She saw that he had a tux on with a white mask over his eyes. His hand was a plant with red petals. The female in the lead had the most bizarre hairstyle Zek had ever seen. Twin ponytails that were tied in the back reached down to her ankles. They were knotted and thick, almost Death Star-like balls at the base of her skull. She began talking rapid fire in an unknown language, all the while gesturing wildly. Tyree simply stared, dumbstruck at the events. Then, an idea seized her. The young girl rallied the group, arms outstretched. She stopped halfway between Zek and the group, dropped to her knees, and shouted, "We surrender!" She closed her eyes and waited. Hold it. I need to process this, people. Did we just have a fight in a Sailor Moon crossover where the Senshi are not only awesome, but were they're normal, kick butt, we can handle this ourselves, strong, independent girls, and didn't get beaten for no good reason? I need a moment. Vic, don't you know the rules of a bad Sailor Moon crossover? 1. The Senshi need to look like peons. 2. Your characters need to beat their butts. And 3. One of the Senshi should die. You define all 3! What's next? You're going to have the Senshi perfectly in character and have everybody be friends in the next chapter? Ha 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 ha! I swear if that happens, I will proceed to eat my glasses case. 10 minutes later, in downtown Tokyo. Tsushima Yasagi was having a perfectly marvelous day. She was fairly certain she had done her taxes correctly earlier today, and was now enjoying a hot fun Sunday with her boyfriend and soulmate, Chiba Mamoru. In short, a crisis was absolutely fated to happen. Oh, that's a scary thought. Yasagi doing her taxes. So as she finished off the Sunday, a small device started beeping in the bag laying at her side. She reached over and after rummaging for 3 minutes, pulled out her communicator, opened it up and spoke. Yes? Pluto's image appeared. Sailor Senshi. A pair of new enemies has appeared just out of Tokyo. I will attempt to hold them off. Please, hurry! The computer screen then went dark. Yasagi groaned, sat up and glanced over at Mamoru. We have Senshi business, she said, gaze drifting down to her husband's Sunday. And I wanted a cheeseburger too, she sniffed as he fought off the tears. Mamoru sighed as he paid the waitress and half dragged Yasagi out of there. I'll get you a cheeseburger when we get back, okay? At that, her eyes lit up with happiness. Oh, Mama-chan, you're the best! She said, hugging him so tightly that he nearly stumbled into traffic. Oh, shoot, it's that... Japanese names, thank you. Mamoru-chan quickly regained control, narrowly avoiding oncoming traffic and guiding his girlfriend to his car. Do you have a fix on the possessors of the other Senshi? He asked. Yasagi opened her communicator packet up and pressed a button. Yes, but it's about a half a kilometer outside of town. The vets are gathering at Ray's temple. She looked through the window. Oh, we're here! Mamoru and Yasagi quickly got out and entered the ancient Shinto temple. Hino Ray, a.k.a. Sailor Mars, lived there. They went past the wooden gate and began climbing the 100 steps to the main building. Finally, they reached the top and were greeted by a young woman in the traditional red and white robes of a Shinto priest. Or, in this case, priestess. It's about time we got here, Odango Head. We were wondering when you were showing up. Yasagi's eyes snarled as he glared daggers at her. Oh, be quiet, Ray! Besides, we're not the only ones here. Minako and Makoto aren't here either. Ray sighed in frustration as they entered her bedroom. That's because they're getting us food. Now come on! She grabbed one of Yasagi's ponytails and pulled, forcing her into the building. An embarrassed-looking Mama followed her behind. Inside sat 4 young ladies around an ankle-high table. They were Mizuno Ami, Geno Haruka, Kaio Mishiru, and Tomo Hataru. Haruka, a tall Amazon woman, got up and walked over to Yasagi. Yasagi, what are we waiting for? Sasuna needs us to fight these new enemies. She said as she ran her head through her short, almost crew-cut length of blonde hair in patience. Yasagi nodded. Yes, I understand. We'll teleport over to Sasuna when Makoto and Minako arrive. Just then, a rather tall brunette and blonde walked in. The brunette was carrying a tray filled with snacks, something that Yasagi immediately smelled. But we should go fight on an empty stomach. Haruka felt a sudden gust of wind, and Yasagi was gone. She looked around and saw at the kitchen table, stuffing her face with food. Ami, Haruka, and Hotaru were doing their best to shield themselves from the flying food. No avail. Ray quickly grabbed her by the ear and pulled her away while the brunette, Kino Makoto, to be exact, smiled. Glad you like that. I made 4 for after. Ami sighed in worry. I hope Yasagi will leave some for us. And saw that, Yasagi stood straight up and shouted, Okay, let's go! She thrust her arm into the air, scattering crumbs about the carpet. Ami, Mishiru, Hotaru all got up and shouted, Hey! They all raised their right hands. An ordered small rod similar to Sailor Pluto's appeared. All 8 shouted a phrase. Similar, but different. Moon, Eternal, make up! Mercury, crystal power, make up! Mars, crystal power, make up! Jupiter, crystal power, make up! Venus, crystal power, make up! Neptune, crystal power, make up! Uranus, crystal power, make up! Saturn, crystal power, make up! Each girl was immediately bathed in a bright light. When it faded, they were no longer mere high school students. They were now the Sailor Senshi, guardians of love and justice! Isaki, a.k.a. Sailor Moon, took Sailor Mars' hand. It's time to teleport, she said, all trace of her fun side gone. The 8 Senshi and Mamoru, who had changed to his alter ego Tuxedo Mask, joined hands. They closed their eyes as the otherworldly light enveloped them. When Ami opened her eyes, they were now on a country road outside of Tokyo. Instead of Mercury, the blue-haired genius tugged at her earring, causing a deep blue visor to slide over her eyes and a small laptop computer to appear in hands. She began scanning the road ahead with sensors embedded in the visor, looking for any signs of the enemy. After a short while, she sounded, Sailor Moon, Pluto is fighting two people just ahead. They're both very powerful. Sarah Uranus, a.k.a. Haruka, seized a silk-constructed sword from her side. Then let's just kill them now, she snarled. Sarah Mars took out her hand and held out her arm. No, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel anything evil with those two. It almost feels like they're lost. The raven-haired Senshi stared straight ahead and concentrated, tapping into what some people call the sixth sense. So you could feel when something was going to happen, what people were feeling. It always scared her. It thrilled her simultaneously. After a minute, her shoulders slumped into feet. I can't determine what their intentions are. Sailor Moon half smiled. That's okay, she said, patting her best friend on the shoulder. She couldn't clench her fist in determination. Let's go! The 8th Senshi, a tuxedo common, broke out into a dead run, quickly reaching Pluto and the two enemies. One man was dressed in a black firing bolt at Pluto. The other appeared to be a small girl in an orange jumpsuit. Even weirder was the fact that she wore no shoes. The champion of love and justice paid those facts no mind, as he effected a pre-battle pose and began with her speech. Hey you! You can't disturb peaceful villages around here! These people work hard to have a right to live how they please! I can't forgive you for that! She raised her left arm in front of her body and pointed at the two people with her right. In the name of the moon! Tsuyoshio! The small girl immediately ran out. Uranus raised her sword, while blue light began glowing from Mercury's hands. What happened next surprised everyone and shocked everybody. Instead of mutating into some demon, she simply stopped, knelt down, threw both arms in the air, and shouted in English. Well, Japanese. And shouted in English. Sailor Moon, Sailor Jupiter, Mars, Saturn immediately turned to Mercury, Uranus, and Neptune, a.k.a. Michiru, and Venus, a.k.a. Minako, all asking the same thing. What does he say? Wait. I gotta get my mind around this. This fanfic just remembered that we're listening to Japanese characters speaking English, but it's translated into English for us. But on over there, they're speaking basic, which is English translated for us. And remember that there's a language barrier. And also, remembered that technically only Ami, Haruka, Michiru, Venus, and Mama-chan should be the ones in Pluto, because Pluto's accepted the law of rules, because of their civilian identities, remembering their human characters over their... Vivek, are you alright? I mean, do you have something you need to say? Because you're actually remembering their characters, their personalities, and who they are. Jet, is that you? I mean, I know I normally have been expecting this whenever I read Jet Wolf fanfics lately, but Jet, are you doing this? Is that you working behind the scenes? Jet Wolf, is that you? Honey, or that really nice girl who wrote that really awesome Buffy and Sailor Moon crossover? Are you guys okay here? Tuxedo Mask, as usual forgotten until now, spoke up. I believe she said, we surrender. He stepped forward and calmly walked toward the girl. Can you tell them your name? The man in black man really quick was at her side in a moment. He was also primed to see some sort of energy sword. Don't tell them anything, Tyree. A girl apparently named Tyree stepped forward. My name is Tyree, and this is Zack. Who are you? And where are we? And why do you look so ridiculous? And why did that lady shoot us? Wasn't that scream? The normally stoic Mask was taken aback by the stream of questions from the girl. He looked back at Sailor Moon, who was wearing into the translation. They appear to be lost! He shouted. Sailor Moon stepped forward. Mama-chan, can you please translate? He nodded. Sailor Moon continued speaking. We apologize for the attack. Right, Pluto? The elder Senshi could only nod, having been taken aback by the sudden turn of events. Was I wrong? Usagi could be naive, but her judgment is always sound, and matters such as this. She quickly looked away, not sure what to do. A rare occurrence for her. The CEO Mask quickly translated Sailor Moon's speech. Tyree apparently believed him, but Zek wasn't. He gripped his sword tighter and glared daggers at the entire group. I want to believe you, he said through clenched teeth. Right now, I have a hard time believing you after that nutjob back there nearly killed us. He glanced down, as if having a conversation with himself. They did something nobody expected. He filled with his handle for the sword, and the blade retracted back. Ship! He clipped it to his belt and held his hands out to his side. Sailor Moon smiled. She concentrated, and the light shined over her body. To Zek's and Tyree's amazement, her clothes melted into strands of energy and retracted back into a bruise on her chest. After a second, a schoolgirl's uniform appeared. She pointed to herself and said, Usagi. Ladies and gentlemen, she just met a bunch of alien races. It's not completely 100% sure if these guys are evil or not. Has no reason to believe that they're okay. The first thing she does is extend her hand out in friendship. In a crossover fic. You got it! One of the best Usagi moments on here, people. That is Usagi. That is straight grade Usagi. That is who she is. Oh, fanfic, I can take you home. Jaina and Telecom watched as Zek, Tyree, and almost a dozen human females came marching up to the rock dragon. Jaina's eyes narrowed as she directed the version of her mother's glare of death upon her boyfriend. So, mind explaining to me who these ladies are? Zek chuckled nervously and said, What? No. He stepped back to motion for Usagi to step forward. Jaina Solo, I'd like you to meet Toshiko Usagi. As the two shook hands, Zek continued, You both have something in common. Both of you are royalty of destroyed planets. Jaina's mouth gasped, You're from Alderaan? Usagi's mouth opened slightly as the improvised translation device built by Ami kicked in. That's my girl! Allowing her to understand the strange young woman before her. No, I'm the reincarnation of Luna royalty. You know, that sounds a lot less weird when you consider the rest of the fanfics I've read. She looked up in the sky, pointing at the moon. It was just past noon, so the crater's guard orb was just barely visible. 10,000 years ago, my mother ruled over the solar system. Similar to everyone else. All of us were royalty on our own respective planets, but they were all destroyed by a being known as Metalia. Teleka's eyes shot up. And I assume your mother was force sensitive? Usagi smiled. Yes, she was very sensitive and kind. She allowed a sort of laughter and escaped her mouth. She turned away to cover it, but the brown-haired lady suddenly found herself confronted by an angry brunette. Don't laugh at Usagi, Makoto said, grabbing Jaina by the wrist. In a flash, Makoto's hands were blocked away by a well-placed shot from Tenoka. Don't touch her, Tenoka said, eyes burning with a cold fire. Makoto went into a defensive stance, but Usagi quickly jumped in front. No! Don't fight! There's no reason to. Zek explained everything to us. Makoto and Tenoka separated after a moment, but the two continued to stare daggers at each other. Jaina turned away, almost bumping heads with Ami. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, the blue-haired senior said. She stepped back and bowed. My name is Mizuno Ami, but you may call me Ami. Jaina nodded. Well, it's nice to meet you, but you don't have to be so formal. She looked at the rest. So, you're the reincarnation of ancient royalty? A crowd of young women parted, allowing Setsuna to walk up to Jaina and Ami. Yes, like you said, Jedi. We have powers of our own. Her scarlet eyes were half closed for a second, and an ornate rod appeared. She held it high and shouted, Pluto crystal power! Make up! A blast of light momentarily blinded Jaina and Tenoka. When it faded, a strange lady stood in place of Setsuna. Tenoka reset her senses and probed the lady. It's the same person, she said, surprise evident. Pluto nodded and motioned to her friends. Each of us can transform into a powerful warrior named the Sailor Senshi. A bright flash of light engulfed her, referring her to Maya Setsuna. The Guardian Time looked over Jaina's head and saw a large furry biped, a young centaur, and 3 young men running at him. Friends of yours. Jaina turned her head and saw Jason, Loie, Anakin, Raynar, and Lusa. Well, looks like the gang's all here. Wait, centaur? Centaurs? There are centaurs in Star Trek? Star Wars? Sorry, I'm a big fan of centaurs. They're so they're so cool looking, and having two rib cages. And I'm sorry, I'll get back to the fic. Far to the north, chapter 3. A match in hell and matches in heaven. Lay the Arctic Circle, a site of an invasion that was started 10,000 years ago and was just stopped 10 years ago. The Dark Kingdom, under the control of the tyrant Queen Beryl, tried to invade and conquer and defile Earth. All because he couldn't get the guy 10,000 years ago. Because of her jealousy, a pocket reality was destroyed and a species made extinct, save for one individual. Time had no real meaning for him anymore. What little sensory input he got was distorted, like a dream you can't wake up from, or a nightmare. He had been frozen in crystal with no chance of escape, until now. A dark clearing appeared above his person. He heard a voice in his mind, not like the other voices in his head. This one, however, sounded calm.
Greetings, my young apprentice. I have been waiting for you.
Huh? What? Are you alive? Are you dead? Are you me? Am I me?
I am your new master. I can give you the freedom from this prison and sanity. Will you accept my offer?
Sure. No. Yes. No. Yes. Please end this.
Very well.
The cloud descended over the crystal, cracking it like an egg. After a few seconds it shattered, freeing the man inside. He crumbled to the ground, shivering. He wore a gray uniform, with red trim and white gloves. Eyes darted all around, finally settling on the dark cloud of evil descending upon him. After a minute of coughing, he spoke his first words in 10 years. Ah! Get away from me! His arms waved about as he attempted to throw up a telekinetic shield. But the decay in stasis had drained his energy to nothing. A cloud of venom enveloped him, permeated and consumed him. The man rose, his formerly blue eyes now an eerie orange. The voice came to him again.
Excellent, my young apprentice.
The man smiled the smile of a predator. Thank you. But who are you?
I am Palpatine, Dark Lord of the Sith, and you, Jedi, shall be the vessel for our vengeance.
Overhead, the heavens rumbled as they witnessed the most unholy of unions. Normally I'd be upset by them reusing a Dark Kingdom member, but right now, at the very moment, I just don't give a frack. Jaina, Sek, and Ami stood in front of the Rock Dragon's starboard engine and peered through the open panel. Jaina's gloved hand reached in and tugged on a scorched piece of metal. This intake housing is warped, but it should be strong enough for takeoff and maneuvering, she said. A trembling sigh escaped her lips as he thought about that rat that chewed through the power cable yesterday. I hope Jason enjoys his new pet. Sek chuckled to himself. Said rat was now an impromptu cage constructed of massive wiring. Hey, from what I hear, this happened to you guys before. Ami glanced at the two, then stepped forward and stuck her heads and arms straight into the hull. I believe this is what you call the hyperdrive motivator, correct? She said, pulling out a small metallic cube. She then extracted herself from the panel and handed it to Zek. It appears functional. Zek's emerald eyes scanned the motivator. Without that 2-kilogram hunk of metal, the Rock Dragon and everybody on board would be stuck on this earth for a minute. Ever. After a tense minute, he looked up and spoke to Jaina. It looks fine to me. Ami stepped back while Zek stuck his right arm and his head into the hole. After a quick adjustment, the motivator once more fit snugly into its proper socket. That'll do it! The former bounty hunter turned to Ami, scratched his head. How did you learn about this stuff so quickly? Jaina put her hand on Ami's shoulder. Yeah. She pointed to another section of the hull plane. It took you only 5 minutes to realign the starboard sensors. She started, admiration in her voice. Ami's cheeks were suddenly reddened in embarrassment at Jaina's kind words. Zek rolled his eyes and looked down across the small field. It had taken a bit, but Jedi and Senshi were starting to get to know one another. Shaky questions quickly became the starting point of conversations, which matured into the exchange of ideas, wishes, hopes, and fears. This is how a crossover is supposed to happen, people. I want you to take notes. As a matter of fact, I will have a board ready at the end of this fic. Eventually, friendships formed. Darn straight. One such friendship was between Haruka and Lusa. The tall blonde looked at Centaur square in the eye and snored, I don't think you have a chance against me, she said, blowing a lock of hair out of her eyes. I am the wind. Lusa stood tall at that and gathered her courage. I am a future Jedi Knight and Park Equine. You think you could beat that because you're the wind? The two looked across the grassy plain and saw a large gray rock about 50 meters away. The first one there, Lusa said as he pawed the ground. Haruka nodded and leaned forward. Her lean body, almost devoid of fat, tensed. The young centaur waited a few heartbeats before shouting, Go! The two seemed to advance as they raced toward the rock. Two people off the side watched them as they soared. Raynar Thule and Caillou Michiru. There's no way Haruka could win, Raynar said with a smug look on his face. Lusa once beat Tenno Ka in a race around the Great Temple, and nobody beats Tenno Ka. Michiru's ice blue eyes watched as her lover struggled with Lusa, her face impassive and arms crossed. Haruka glanced to the side and saw the young centaur keeping pace with her. This is impossible. Nobody can keep pace with me, especially not some... Her thoughts were interrupted when she reached out and touched the large great rock, second behind Lusa. The young centaur turned her head to the side and regarded Haruka with her eyes. I think I won, she said between breaths, her humanoid body shuddering from exertion. The Amazon's face clenched in embarrassment as, for the first time in her life, she felt defeat in an athletic competition. Lusa felt her embarrassment and raised her arm, extending towards Haruka. Nice race. You almost had me. Haruka's hand ruffled her short hair before clasping Lusa's hand. You're not bad yourself, she said. The pair suddenly looked and saw Raynar and Michiru standing there. Raynar patted Lusa on the back. That was great, he said. Lusa merely shrugged, and the two walked away, hands clasped. Meanwhile, Haruka and Michiru regarded the two. They're in love, Michiru said with a smirk on her face. The timepost Haruka snorted and said, How can you tell? After a second, however, her expression softened slightly. Those two are good kids. It would be an honor to fight them alongside them. Michiru nodded. Indeed. As far how I know, they look at each other the same way I look at you. Like I want to kiss you right now. What's stopping you? The rock dragon was surrounded on three sides by low-level hills. Although none of them were above 20 meters, they served to conceal the alien cruiser from prying eyes. They also proved to be a perfect sparring ground, as Tenno Ka Jo and Kino Makoto proved. It was also served as a good concealment place from the JLA watchtower. Oh, my light-fruit user, that's so silly. What makes you think that this universe is somehow in any way connected to the JLU? I know! Wouldn't it be silly if suddenly we found out that this fanfic crossed over with the JLU and Minako somehow had a direct connection to the Martian Manhunter? Why, that would make this fic truly awesome! 10 minutes before, Tenno Ka stood on the flattest hill and went through her exercises, sending out strikes and dueling imaginary opponents. The warrior soon felt one of the Senshi approaching. So she stopped and observed Makoto approaching the hill. The tall brunette looked up as she stomped up and stared at Tenno Ka, and tensions began to build. The red-headed Jedi flashed back to when the two almost came to blow. She means to finish what she started. Makoto's green eyes burned a hole into Tenno Ka. The warrior princess returned to stare, and their eyes locked in a staring contest. I hear for Jason you're the brawn of your little group, Makoto said. Tenno's eyebrows arched in surprise. She spoke to Jason? The karate maniac smirked at the reaction. Yeah, and you know what? He sort of reminds me of my old boyfriend. Tenno Ka stopped practicing, and her arms dropped to the side. A slow flame began to burn as he walked over to Makoto. You will not speak of Jason that way! She came face to face with Makoto, and the two stood centimeters from each other. Jason Solo is my best friend, and I won't have you regard him in that lascivious manner! Inside Tenno Ka's mind, a tiny voice spoke up. Do we really want to provoke her? Makoto poked Tenno Ka right in the chest, leaving a small dent in her glittering lizard-hide armor. Was this cool armor? So, that'll get you riled up. Good! She sat back, raised her arms, spread her legs apart as she assumed a martial arts stance. You know, I have to admit, I'm curious as to whether or not I would have won if Yasaki didn't interfere. The brunette let a small smile creep across her face. So, Sally? Tennock felt a smile across her lips. That is a fact. I, too, wondered. In a flash, the Jedi trainee lashed out with a right heel kick, aiming squarely at Makoto's left calf. Makoto knelt down and dropped her arm to his side, letting her armor up and sword to blow, while lashing out with her foot in an attempt to sweep Tennock off her feet. The warrior Jedi jumped up and somersaulted back, doing a complete 360-degree rotation before landing. Makoto leapt to her feet and raced toward Tennock, her right arm coiled and ready to fly. As soon as she reached the redhead, Makoto threw her entire weight behind a stiff right cross. Tennock raised the stump of her left arm and partially deflected it. Makoto's fist grazed her left cheek, sending her staggering back. Makoto smelled blood and punched again, although this one had less force. Tennock was unable to block it, and Makoto's fist slanted to her left cheek, right below her gray eye. Tennock's fist slammed as she staggered back. Never in her entire life had she been hit with such raw power. Not even a blow from Lobaka had hurt as much. Tennock's arms went up to cover her face, but Makoto went low and tried to punch her in the gut. At the very last second, she dropped her right arm and grabbed the brunette's arm. She stepped forward, wrapped the stump of her left arm around Makoto's head, and flipped her onto her back. Before she could mount any defense, Tennock clipped her lightsaber and ignited it, sending a turquoise beam shooting forth from the emitter plate. Makoto sat up and placed her hands in the air. "Okay, all right," she said. "I know when I'm beaten." Tennock deactivated her lightsaber and, with one smooth motion, clipped the right core tooth back into her armor. That is probably one of the coolest hilts for a lightsaber ever. She then stepped forth and stuck her arm out. Makoto hesitated a moment before accepting the aid. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" she asked. Tennock shrugged. "I am heir apparent to the Haepus Corsorum on my home reality. Both my mother and father saw to it that I learned to defend myself." She paused and rubbed the spot where Makoto's fist landed. An egg-shaped lump had begun to form. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Makoto arched her back, popping several vertebrae back into place. She was slow to admit it, but that flip almost threw out her back. "Ugh! I've been taught Kung Fu and Jiu-Jitsu since I was young. It helped. Distracted me when things got tough." A thought struck to her. "Hey, what's this Haepus Corsorum consist of anyway?" 63 star systems and approximately 4 billion citizens." Makoto's mouth went dry. Vision went dark for a second. 63 planets? Is she for real? Tennock nodded, picking up her thoughts. "Yes, I am for real, as you put it." It took a full 3 seconds before the Senshi realized that the Tennock had read her mind. Makoto shrugged. "Oh, well, Ray can read minds, and she's okay. What's one more psychic among friends?" The two new friends began walking back toward the rock dragon. Friendship. Anakin found himself bored. The young man had already run diagnostics on the rock dragon's computers 4 times. He now sits in the ship's lounge and half-heartedly read through an electronic book called The Fall, Rise, and Fall of Zim the Despot. Zim! Zim is me! I don't think we're talking the same Zim. Oh! Zaina, Zek, and Ami were handling repairs to the ship. Tyree was talking to Setsuna. Jason and Loie were out exploring the other areas. Although the youngest Solo found the Sailor Senshi fascinating, he didn't know enough about them to form a concrete opinion. Therefore, he stayed away. Therefore, he had no one to talk to. Therefore, he was bored. A noise startled him out of his stupor. He stood up and cast his senses out, discovering another human approaching the lounge. He felt power. Raw power. It startled him, especially when he saw who possessed it. A young teenage girl, only about 15 or 16, emerged from the shadows. She wore a plaid skirt, a red cardigan, and had brown shoes on. Her raven black hair was cut in a short bob. But the most striking thing about her were her violet eyes. From one angle, they appeared full of light and laughter. From another, they were cold, dead, and emotionless. Anakin looked up and noticed her. "Hello," he said, extending his arm to her. But instead, she bowed before accepting the preferred handshake. Speaking of Vic Mignogna, I really should read a full Mal story. The young woman smiled. "Hello, I'm Otamori Otaru," she said. Nervousness was laced through her voice, and a sticky smile plastered on her lips. Angus' eyebrow arched as he praised her. There's no reason for her to be nervous. From what I've heard, she's one of the most powerful Senshi. He smiled. So, what brings you here? He then noticed her hand briefly go to her right ear, and adjusted a tiny earpiece nestled on her. Anakin flashed back to when Mizuno Ami sewed the miniature translator she had built. She had nothing to use but some metal in her backpack, and circuit boards from an ancient calculator. And she still built 4 functional translators for her friends? He motioned for her to sit down, sat opposite of him, and put her hands on the table.
I was wondering, what would you like to do?
She said. All the while her violet eyes beheld the most handsome boy, no, young man that they had ever seen. Anakin's face, while still holding vestiges of body fat, was starting to become more angular. His tousled blonde hair complemented his blue eyes. The tilt of his chin was the icing on the cake. She cleared her throat and continued,
I was also wondering, what is this force? Your sister said that you can channel the force, and I was wondering what it does.
Anakin nodded and stood up. He walked over to a small piece of equipment and held his arm out. The force is an energy field created by us, as well as living things. He reached out and levitated the object to Hotaru, who could only stare in wonder. It's not magic. It's not science. It's somewhere in between. The hunk of metal settled onto the table with a thunk.
And not metachlorians?
Whoa, Hotaru! That is a completely different argument we do not want to get to on this show! Hotaru grabbed onto it and lifted it up. Or rather, she tried to lift it up. Anakin thought for a second. Hotaru, would you transform for a minute? The young woman looked down in confusion.
Why would you want me to do that?
After a moment, she shrugged and stood up. Her eyes half closed, and transformation wand appeared in her right hand. She held out her arm and shouted,
Saturn Crystal Power! Make up!
A blizzard of ribbons surrounded Hotaru, reforming her clothes into a single fuku, with a purple bow tied in front, and a violet skirt. Knee-high boots with a white trim and elbow-length gloves complemented the ensemble. She was now Sailor Saturn. Anakin noted the transformation time. A half second? Interesting. He motioned to the hunk of metal on the table. Saturn grabbed it and lifted it in the air with one hand.
Our strength is increased when we transform, she said to him. We're almost the ideal.
Anakin nodded. He would speak, but his mouth was partially open and to get surprised and increase our large strength. Saturn put the equipment down, and a bright light enveloped her. When it faded, Tomoe Hotaru stood there once more. She reached down and pulled out a small pack of parting cards.
Do you have card games where you're from?
She asked. The youngest soul nodded. My father's from Cornelia, where the gambling capital of the galaxy. He sat down as he began dealing out cards. He picked up his head and noted the difference between them and stopped at cards. What's this called, anyway? Tara finished dealing and laid the undealt cards on the table. She picked up her hand and spoke.
It's called Go Fish. Got any threes?
Chapter 4. A Way Home and The Catch. Later that night, the rock dragon lay quiet. Most of the Senshi had gone back to Tokyo, while the young Jedi turned in for the night. Jaina and Ami, however, were in the ship's cockpit, hard at work. The only other sentient awake was a small black cat named Luna. The two were currently studying sensor data, and Ami studied the three-dimensional images of the anomaly, trying to figure out what it was.
It appears rather inert until axial impact. This might sound weird, but it almost seems like you forced it open.
She suddenly looked up and looked at the now very startled Jaina.
Jaina, what's wrong?
The brunette Jedi suddenly got out of her seat and began pacing. The only reason we impacted was some crippin' red shoots through the starboard power coupling and Blue Engine 2. I hit my head and blacked out, missing the landing. She flopped back down into her seat and shook her head. The only way home then is to nearly kill us. Ami shook her head at Jaina.
It's not hopeless. The released energy is what opened the hole, not the actual explosion. All you need is a source of energy and you'd be home free.
She gripped Jaina by the shoulders and steadied her.
Think, is there anything on board that could create that power?
Jaina's gaze drifted as she thought. After a few seconds, she smiled and half shouted, Yes! There's a half-dozen torpedoes in the hold. 10 of Kyle's grandmother insisted she had them to repel assassination attempts. Jaina ignored Ami's look of confusion, and mine, as he began talking rapid fire. I'll have to figure out the appropriate warhead yield by comparing the data to the explosion. She suddenly glanced at her chronometer. Hey, so you can be getting home? It's getting pretty late. Ami gasped in horror.
Oh no! I have an advanced biology test tomorrow. I gotta get ready. I've only studied it so I know the entire book forwards and backwards. I don't know the book at least in one other language yet. Ready, Luna?
The black cat purred.
Yes, Ollie. It's not like I have a lot to do.
And yes, people, in the studio right now, I have with me a Plus Luna. She's currently bossing this with me.
Hi.
The two young women shook hands as Jaina led Ami out of the rock dragon. Bye! Ami turned and waved off before running into the night. Ami slowed to a walk when she reached Juban, the district in Tokyo where she lived. Luna jumped out of her arms and walked alongside her.
I felt something from Jaina, Telka, and Tyree back there,
she said. Ami looked down at the fading line.
You mean their Jedi powers? We all felt it, especially Rey. That kid Anakin even said they were their universe's equivalent to Senshi.
She thought for a second.
You don't think they're Senshi, do you?
Luna chuckled.
Actually,
A bright glare flashed from the horizon. It was bright as the sun, but it was 9:30 at night. Ami whipped her communicator and contacted Senshi.
We've got a street light coming from...
She trailed off as a figure emerged. He was older, with short blonde hair, and a gray uniform Ami hadn't seen in years. This time, however, his eyes had changed. They were sunken and shone an almost frightening orange. Ami swallowed and thought for a second before passing into the Rock Dragon's con system.
This is the message to the Senshi and Jedi. A Yoma, a monster, thought dead for 10 years back. His name is Jedi, and he seems very powerful. I'll hold him off, but I need backup.
Put away her communicator and held out her transformation wand aloft. Resolution crossed her face as she said,
Mercury crystal power! Make up!
A blue light surrounded her, melting her clothes and forming them into Sailor Senshi outfit. She immediately struck a pose and shouted,
People need sleep in order to...
She never finished as Jedi raised his arms. Blue sparks danced around his gloved fingers. A bolt of blue's lightning shot at her. Her entire lower body was enveloped by a pain-inducing arc of electricity, sending away some of her life force and throwing her back 10 meters. Ugh! Jedi chuckled as he walked toward her. Sailor Mercury, it is good to see you again. How's Moon and Mars? He began channeling energy into his left hand. A spear of energy formed in it as he advanced upon the Senshi.
Yes, yes, you have done much.
Chortled Palpatine's spirits. Sparks erupted from his cupped hand as he advanced. Chapter 5, in the name of the Force! Rose hit the pavement in front of Jadeite, stopping him in his tracks. He scowled as he looked up and saw a man in formal wear and a white mask perched on a lamppost. What's weird is that Tuxedo's mask theme is playing in my head as I read this. It was Tuxedo Mask. Team Mamoru is powered up for him. How dare you attack Sailor Mercury? She is a good friend to us all! Yoma inwardly groaned and Taka nearly grabbed him, throwing him to the side of a building.
I thought I killed you at the airport so long ago. Oh well, all the Senshi will die!
He let Tuxedo Mask drop all the way to the pavement, nearly killing him. Jedi turned from him and jumped out of the way of the 8 Senshi attacks in the process. Angrily, both Jedi and Palpatine smiled.
At last, vengeance is at hand!
Sailor Moon ran up to Tuxedo Mask, cradling her soulmate's head in her arms.
Mama-chan, what's he done to you? Please, don't die!
Tuxedo Mask looked over and forced a smile. Don't worry. I'm alright, Yusako. She helped him to his feet and shouted, How's Ami? She shouted, fear in her voice. Sailor Newtoon, taking Mercury's pulse, looked up and spoke. She's weak, but not dead. Looks like she'll be fine with the rest. I'm just going to read that again because after so many Von Doom fics, those 2 words are like heaven, but not dead. Jedi snarled,
It's the same can't be said for you!
With that, he began firing off lightning with his left hand and telekinetically grabbing with his right. Sailor Saturn ran up to him, brandishing her silence glaive. Basically, a long pole topped by 2 slaves served enough to cut through anything. Being slight of stature, she channeled all her strength into one blow. She swung, and the glaive skidded off to a personal force field. Jedi glanced at her and casually flung her to a store window. Uranus held her hands above her head, channeled her power into him. A bright yellow ball of energy formed. She yelled, "What?" She slammed the spear to the ground, fist yelling, "Sinking!" Simultaneously, Neptune raised her arm to channel her own power, foremorsting an almost watery ball of energy. She shouted out, "Deep submerge!" Before leveling her arms and releasing the energy, both flew up, gathering speed and size. Jedi yawned and raised his hands. The two attacks stopped and flew back at Uranus and Neptune, who barely dodged. Sarah Jupiter glanced around. Where is everybody? Sure the police have shown up by now? The Yoma laughed. I'm afraid the citizens of Tokyo are experiencing a Midsummer's Night's Dream. He let out indiscriminate bolts of lightning, but stopped as he sensed 9 powerful beings approaching. Palpatine's spirit cried out,
No! How did those Marats get here? No Jedi could reach this reality!
Jason whistled softly as he approached the bow. This guy's bad news, he said. Suddenly, he turned and saw his brother Anakin staring intently at the great clad figure. Are you okay? The younger Solo bore holes into the man. I can't believe it. How is this possible? He pointed at Jedi, who was staring back with equal intensity. Your new body looks good on you, Emperor Palpatine. Jedi smiled and allowed Palpatine to speak through him.
I am glad you remember our encounter so long ago. However, I have no need for you anymore. Lord Jedi is now a new vessel. Together, we will rule.
He raised his hand and began shooting lightning at the Jedi, who scattered. Jason and Jaina leapt at the Sith apprentice. Lightsabers ignited and brought to bear. The twins landed on opposite sides and swung. Jedi held out his hands and, faster than human eyes could make out, materialized a broadsword in his hand. Jaina's lightsaber was parried right out of her hand, sending the violet blade filing. The broadsword disappeared, and he placed his hands on her chest and pushed, sending her flying to a storefront. Tennoka and Tyree ran to her. Jedi parried a strike from Jason, fired a bolt of lightning at the building where the 3 young Jedi were. Jason watched as his sister, girlfriend, and friend were buried by the rubble. Jedi turned to Jason.
And now, young Solo, you will die.
God, I've always wanted to say that. Jaina, Tennoka, and Tyree jumped back as the entire storefront collapsed. It was almost impossible to see. It dust choked the air. Tyree turned around. How do we get out? There's almost too much structural damage and to move with this debris in front of us.
And is there a way out back? Probably not, but it couldn't hurt to look.
Tennoka, who was supporting Jaina's weight with her right arm, let her slide down to the floor. Are you hurt, my friend? She asked, concern evident in her voice. Jaina smiled.
I think I'm okay. The glass cushioned some of the impact.
Tennoka got up and looked at the rubble where only seconds stood on display.
We cannot leave
by the front. She turned toward the back. I do not believe the back is a viable option. We will have to circle around the block, costing us time. A small voice from below her startled the warrior Jedi.
Perhaps I could be of help?
Jaina sat up on her elbows and saw the small source of the voice.
Luna, how did you get here?
The black cat walked up to Jaina.
I looked in before Jedi collapsed the storefront window. Listen, you 3 are more than you think. I believe you 3 could be Senshi.
A soft glow emanated from a crescent moon-shaped mark on Luna's forehead. A soft beam of light struck each girl on the forehead.
Yes? Yes! Hold out your hand!
Each one did. A small rod appeared in front of them. Jaina looked over hers. Then asked Luna an obvious question.
But how? We're Jedi Knights, not Senshi in defense of love and justice. Besides which, we're from an alternate reality.
Luna shook her head.
It doesn't matter where you're from. Each of you has a strong sense of justice and is powerful. Trust me, I can sense the power in each of you.
Tennoka pointed to the rubble, then to the outside. What about Lusa? The small feline shrugged.
I can't say for sure. Tennoka, I haven't spent much time with her.
Tyree looked at her transformation wand.
How do these work? Is there a button?
Jaina Luna looked at her blonde. Shout the name of the planet you associate yourself and the phrase power make up. Jaina got to a standing position. Looked at her rod. Tenoka and Tyri did the same. 3 cries went up to the night. Cornelia power! Make up! Daphomia power! Make up!
Tatooine power! Make up!
Sank down and drew his blaster. In the blink of an eye, he fired off a dozen shots, all lined up with Jedi's head. They would have killed him if there wasn't a force shield around him. Jedi looked down and gestured the remains of a mailbox. The blue box rose up and shot at Zack, nearly hitting and killing him. Jedi turned, parrying Jason's lightsaber's blows with one arm, while battling the rest of the Jedi and Senshi with the other. The fight was not going well. Sailors Mercury, Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, Venus, to Tuxedo Comet were down. Injuries ranging from cuts and scrapes to broken bones, and in Venus's case, a concussion. I just want to say, in Von Doom, I would be upset, but this is Emperor freaking Palpatine, a very powerful Force user. I'm gonna let this slide. Also, the Jedi aren't doing well either, so both are being equal in this fight. The Jedi weren't very good either. As a matter of fact, only Zack and Jason were still standing. Jedi chuckled. Soon, my master. Soon these fools will die, paving the way to our conquest. Palpatine's spirit laughed as well.
You have done well, my young apprentice.
Suddenly, the glass storefront blew open, but did not collapse the rest of the building. 3 figures stepped out, looking like Senshi? Zack squinted his eyes and looked into the clearing dust cloud. Several doors widened as he saw his friends, in radically different attire. A slow whistle even escaped his lips as he beheld Jaina. Sailor Jupiter, who was kneeling beside Neptune and Uranus, glanced up and saw Tenoka. She next nodded in her direction and thought, well, next time, it'll be a bit more even. Jaina stepped forward. She wore a gray skirt with immense high-ankle boots. A Sailor Fuku had a black bow in front and a ribbon tied at the back around her waist. She pointed to Jedi and said, I am Sailor Cornelia! You have injured my friends and tried to take her on this planet! I won't allow it! Tenoka stepped forward. Her skirt was as red as her hair, matching high heels and bow in front. She put her hands on her hips and leaned forward. I am Sailor Dathomir! Your attacks weaken the dark side, and that is a fact! Finally, Tyri stepped forward. Her skirt was a dark yellow, color of sand. Her knee-high boots, ribbon on front and back all matched.
And I am Sailor Tatooine! What you do is evil, and I can't forgive you that. No, sir, no forgiveness from me, or my friends either.
All 3 girls stuck the same pose. Left arm bent and his feet deep in front. Right arm pointing ahead, just above the yellow. They all spoke simultaneously. And you people in the audience better say the same too. Come on, people, say it loud, say it proud. In the name of the Force, we'll punish you. Jedi blinked in massive confusion. What? More Senshi? I'll kill you all! He shot his lightning at him, but hit nothing but air. Tatooine jumped up, put her arms out. She faced her hands palmed out and shouted, Tatooine Sandblast! A large sandstorm erupted from her hands, and fell to be Jedi and, most important, penetrating his force field. Jason saw his chance and swung, bearing down his guard and knocking the sword away. The general stepped back, directly at Sailor Cornelia's line of fire. Cornelia, starburst! She shouted. A wave of red air as he shot from her outstretched palm, hitting Yoma in the back and drawing greenish blood. Sailor Dathomir stepped forward. I believe it's my turn. Dathomir, Heatwave! A bluish flame formed around her arms, shooting out and engulfing Jedi. By this time, the surviving Senshi had regrouped and were pouring attacks into him. Still, it wasn't enough. Sailor Moon was lying on the ground, in pain from being struck by a brick in the back. Luna rounded up and bounded up to her lap.
Yasaki, wake up!
The blonde mumbled, I don't want to get up, Mom. The cat growled, bared her teeth, and bit Sailor Moon's hand hard. The Senshi screamed and shot to her feet.
Ah! Luna, why did you bite me? That hurt.
Tears formed in her blue eyes, but Luna shot her in for gritted thanks. There's no time for that! You gotta defeat Jedi now! Future Queen looked down and nodded, a bit reluctantly. She raised her right arm, and a large scepter appeared. She began spinning around, building up energy into one powerful blast. Silver Moon! Crystal! Power! Go! A heart-shaped blast of pure energy flew and hit Jedi at near subsonic speeds. He barely had time to look Death in the face and scream before he was destroyed. In his place hung a black cloud Palpatine's spirit.
You cannot destroy me. Vader failed. Skywalker failed. You cannot!
He stopped talking as Jason, Zek, Anakin, Raynar, and Lobaka surrounded him. They all had lightsabers ignited and formed a solid round of light sight around him.
If it's alright with you, I think I'll have a drink instead.
Jason grimaced and nodded in direction of his brother. Anakin, nice to see you alright. Tell me, how do you stop the dark? Anakin stepped forward. You shine light upon it. The two touched sabers, destroying Palpatine's spirit for all time. An echo of the scream could be heard in the mind of all.
No, 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 no! I would not fall like this! Power, real power.
As soon as Palpatine's scream dissipated, Jason left the circle and ran up to Sailor Dathomir. The warrior Jedi stood there, with hands on her hips. Hands? Jason stared in open mouth at her left arm. Instead of a stump below the elbow, she actually had a full forearm and hand. Dathomir looked down at where Jason was staring and saw her own arm. Surprise blossomed on her normally stoic face, and a gasp escaped her lips. She raised her arms and clenched and unclenched her new hand. Is this real? Jason stepped forward and grabbed her hand. He held it up and lightly touched it around her waist, feeling for a heartbeat. Dismay colored to his face as he felt none. He turned his hand and spied Senator Pluto. Hey, Sasuna, is regeneration a Senshi power? The Guardian of Time stepped from the group and walked over to the pair. Her scarlet eyes darted over Dathomir's new arm. I don't know. She then glanced over her shoulder at the other Sailor Senshi. The greatest handicap either of us ever had was Ami's. She needs reading glasses when in civilian form. Mercury stepped forward. A bright light enveloped her. When it faded, Mizuno Ami stood there. She reached into her purse, slung over her shoulders, and pulled out a pair of spectacles.
I use them for studying,
she said. Senator Correa and Luna walked over to Dathomir, Jason, and Pluto. Her gloved hand suddenly brushed against her black skirt and lightsaber. She looked down surprised. Huh? What's my lightsaber still doing here? She unclipped it and ignited, setting an electrifying blaze starting forth. Zek started her. Zek! Could you come here for a sec? The lanky young man walked towards her girlfriend. Great. Shoot me. Zek's green eyes bugged out. Shoot ya? Is that uniform cutting off circulation to her brain? Koya groaned. Just do it. Zek reluctantly pulled out his blaster pistol and lined the young woman up in his sights. He slowly pulled the trigger, and a blood-red bolt spat out at Corellia. She raised her blade up and almost deflected it away. I can still use the forces to save our Senshi, she thought. A sudden cry averted her attention from the fight. Tenno stood there clad in bright green lizard form and once more missing her left arm. Luna walked up to her and craned her neck up. I'm sorry about that, Tenno. The young woman blinked back, unusual moisture in her eyes. It's all right, she said. I'm sure this is going to come back to bite our heroes in the butt in any ways whatsoever. No, I'm not foreshadowing a dang thing. What are you people thinking about? Lessons of light enveloped the Senshi as they referred back to their civilian identities. A loud crash caused everyone to whip his or heads out as right in a collapsed storefront, the one Saturn was thrown through. Anakin, Haruka, and Mishiru ran over. Hataru! He reached out and began telekinetically clearing the debris away. Haruka flew there. Her feet barely touched the ground and began lifting away rocks Anakin had got to. Hataru! Say something! She frantically yelled. However, a small limp body was pulled from the wreckage. Hataru's chest rose and fell at great heaves as he gasped for air. Haruka and Mishiru both set her down, careful not to jar her neck around too much. Meanwhile, Lucia and Ami ran over. The young centaur pulled out a bacta bands and slapped it on the young white gas across the forehead. Ami pulled out a slim case and opened it up, revealing a powerful mini-computer. She scanned Hataru. She has no internal injuries, and the cut along her forehead is the worst of it. Lucia looked at the small technological marvel. That is pretty neat. Ami smiled and nodded. Thank you. Hataru let out a moan of pain as consciousness returned to her. Her violet eyes open, settling on Anakin.
My knight has come to rescue me,
She mumbled. Anakin blushed when Haruka eyed him suspiciously. Haruka's currently thinking, "You've got a lot to work for, boy." The youngest Solo felt hot. We better get out of here, he said. He, Jason, Jaina, Zek, Tenoka, Tyree, Lusa, Rainer, and Loie began heading out the city. Hisaki shouted and laughed.
Bye! We'll see you later!
She turned to Setsuna and smiled.
I hope I can get home safely.
The serious woman shrugged. With the Force as their guide, they will succeed. Farther back, Rei, Makoto, and Mama-chan heard the distress call sirens. Yasako! Mama said, "We better get going!" Young blonde whipped her head around, setting her twin ponytail spinning about her wildly.
You're right!
She blew him a kiss and ran off to the Juban district, followed by Rei, Makoto, and Ami. Haruka and Michiru helped Tataru to her feet. We better get going, too. The trio dashed off, while Setsuna ducked down an alley. This left Mama-chan and Minako. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Mama-chan said with a wave. Minako half smiled and yelled out, Sure thing, she said before dashing off. The next day saw a flurry of goodbyes as the Senshi saw the Jedi off. Lusa and Haruka shook hands. Oh, guess we'll never get a rematch, said Haruka. Her lips formed a straight line, but her eyes were twinkling. Lusa patted on her shoulder. That is bad. Maybe I'll come back and race you best 2 out of 3. The two laughed before parting. Zek and Tyree bowed before Setsuna. It was an honor fighting beside you, said the older Jedi. Setsuna returned a bow. The honor is mine. Well, you two will become powerful Jedi. Tyree's eyes got wide and her mouth dropped. Really? The Guardian of the Time smiled and cut off the motor mouth. Trust me on that. Tenokai and Makoto stood on top of the same hill as yesterday. You fought well. The warrior princess nodded. And you did as well. The two shook hands. Until we meet again! Tenokai nodded in agreement as with the unspoken challenge. Then let go and dashed down the mountain to the ship. In the cockpit were Jaina and Ami, going over the last-minute details. Alright. This warhead yield should produce the desired effects. Ami nodded and blinked back tears.
Good luck, Jaina. I'm going to miss you.
Jaina half smiled. I'll miss you too. She checked her chronometer. It's time. Don't worry. We're Sister Jedi Senshi now. For 11 souls, justice. Ami completed the phrase. Praise soldiers in sailor suits. Jaina got up to next to Ami. They both posed and said, In the name of the moon, we'll punish you! The blue-haired genius patted Jaina on the shoulder.
Bye.
And then she left. The night Senshi watched as the rock dragon's thrusters ignited. The ship rose and giftily looked skyward. They waved it as it receded out of the atmosphere and into space. Rei sighed. I hope they make it. Her eyes half closed and concentrated for a minute. Yes, they will make it. Setsuna looked at her in mock anger. Hey, I thought I had the market cornered on prophetic visions. The Senshi of fire smirked and stuck her tongue out at her. It didn't take long for Jaina to find the anomaly. It was sitting in hyperspace, almost daring to be opened. Her co-pilot Lobaka ignited it, targeted it, counting down. Finally, he roared. Launched a photon torpedo straight at the Yankee hull. It impacted, causing a bright flash and ripping it wide open. Jaina gunned the ensigns, driving the Dragon on it. The ship passed through and entered a field of hyperspace identical to the one they had just left. Jaina counted 10, activated the hyperdrive cutoff. The red smear of hyperspace disappeared and changed to a model star field. All the Jedi reached out with their senses, probing. Jaina and Lobaka could hear the cheers from the out corners as they reached out for the Force. The universe felt right. She sat back and smiled. Now then, she had read reports about pirates in the Cornelian sector. I wonder if these ruffians could use a little bit of love and justice. The end of part 1. Oh, this is going to be a thing with these, isn't it? Well, what can I say? This shows how to properly do a good Sailor Moon crossover fic. The Senshi, awesome. The guys they're crossing over with, awesome. Everybody's in character. No rape, no death, no murder. Nobody's treated as weaker than the others. Everybody's had to chance their own fights. The bad guys actually are vicious. There is It all makes sense. People are in character. Inner rights are true. There's nobody trying to kill one another. Friendships are made. People work together. There is no stupidity. Basically, this is kind of like that Buffy crossover I've been doing a couple of times. This is how you're supposed to do it. Yusaki isn't just a mass eater. She's a kind, sweethearted girl that would befriend you as soon as trying to kill you if you weren't trying to hurt her friends. We see that multiple times. She's a princess of friendship, just as much as Twilight is. Ami's not just perpetually weak. She's got her own skills and abilities. Haruka isn't just a racer. She's also got her own kind side about her. Makoto isn't just some Amazon girl who continues to think about her boyfriend all the time. She's also very protective and likes a good rumble. And Rei isn't just Little Miss, "I'm yelling! I hate your guts!" She's a priestess. This remembers that they are all individuals with their own personalities, their own character developments, their own special needs. And this also shows off why the Jedi Knights are awesome. It also gives us a chance to see why everybody's awesome. The bad guy is also well done. This is basically my main complaint right now is that it's really short, but I know that ain't gonna last long because the rest of the chapters get longer and more epic. There are plenty more adventures to be held. Trust me, there's a lot more in store. Because after all, the adventure never truly ends when you're a hero. And the same could be said for these new Senshi. After all, there are more out there. Jedi trainees, isn't there? And in some of the descriptions for the previews, I did promise 6 more, didn't I? Well, that'll have to wait till later. Come back next time, and I might present to you something a little different. Who knows, maybe a full metal fic like I said. But till then, I'll see you all next time.